Hello book lovers, welcome to Uncommon Reader. My name is Daniela. I'd like to start thanking all of you who subscribed and watched my first video. And I think today's video is sort of a continuation of my first video where I was introducing my favorite genres. I think this could though be considered a branch of historic novels, and I'm referring to books that talk about art. So today I'm going to share how books instilled in me the interest for art, and through the books I learned more about artists of the Renaissance or the Impressionism, which are my favorite expression of art. Everything started with a novel, and I'm talking about Irving Stone, The Agony and the Ecstasy, which is the biography of artist Michelangelo Buonarroti. This book goes really deep in detail in what was Michelangelo's life and relationships with other artists in the Renaissance. So this book sort of made me appreciate him despite his personality. Michelangelo was known to be very grumpy and unapologetic and quite a difficult character. So he had quite a few difficult relationships, and especially with Leonardo Da Vinci, they had a big rivalry. And you sort of kind of take parts, because when you get to know the soft side of Michelangelo, because he was also kind of a poet, he also wrote some poems, would you believe it? So this book, it's really a very complete biography, starting with his first days, the Medici family day. He was living in the same house with the Medicis for a long time, and then of course all his accomplishments during his life as an artist. He lived a long life. So I got really into Renaissance art, and I wanted to know about other artists, and especially Leonardo da Vinci, which, he had such a bad relationship with. So when I stumbled into this book called I, Mona Lisa by Natasha Solomons, I got really curious, because, I didn't have a good opinion of Leonardo da Vinci after I read this book. I wanted kind of to change that, and this book was really intriguing because it's a very unique perspective. Here we have the painting, the famous painting you can now admire at the Louvre in Paris, Speaks. The minute that Leonardo starts drawing this painting, we see the painting coming alive, and this voice that narrates the book is the voice of Mona Lisa. So it's a totally unique way of telling a story. And Leonardo can hear Mona Lisa speak through the canvas, and they start this relationship with each other. And so it's a very uncommon perspective to see Leonardo through Mona Lisa's eyes. She, of course, adored him. And the book goes on and on, telling the story of the Mona Lisa. Also, after Leonardo passes, we follow her life through these centuries of many, many changes, ending up at Versailles, and then when she was at the Louvre, and during the war they were hiding the paintings from the Nazis, and then finally regaining the status of, the most important painting at the Louvre. It's actually quite interesting end, because when one painter, a famous painter, goes to see her at the Louvre, he is the only one that's able to hear her speak like Leonardo did. But of course, I'm not going to spoil that for you. Read the book. It's really interesting. Staying with Leonardo, I have to mention this Italian book, although I know unfortunately it's not translated in English yet, but it's called Karina Smile. And it's by Carlo Becce. He's a very known expert of Da Vinci, and during some researches that he did in the State Archive in Florence, he actually was able to go back to finding the real mom of Leonardo da Vinci, because he lived with his father and they actually didn't know, the historians didn't know where his real mom was coming from. But through these documents that Vece found, turns out that Leonardo's mom could have been a slave coming from the Black Sea. And the story of this book tells the journey that Caterina did when she was enslaved in the Black Sea, and with a boat went through Constantinople and ended up in Venice and finally in Florence, a very adventurous life. And the interesting thing is that she was really good at drawing and she was hired to do some paintings on textiles, and that's how she sort of started this career. She was still a slave though, so she was forced to work, but she had a talent and I guess she really liked it, and somehow ended up in a very adventurous way in Florence, where she met with Leonardo's dad, who was a notary, that ended up being able to release her from slavery. So it's a beautiful book, which I hope can be translated in English very soon, so can you all enjoy. So moving on to Impressionism, I want to mention a few books. Two of them are by Maureen Gibbon. One is Red Paris, and it has the encounter of love story of Edouard Manet and his muse Victorine. In fact, she was the famous Olympia that so much scandal created at those days. And the second book is The Lost Notebook of Edouard Manet, which is kind of actually an imaginative diary of Manet last days. And for me, I felt a little cheated here because when I see a title that says diary, I immediately think that that's the lost diary of Manet. Somebody found it and they publish it. Instead, it's just made up story and letters of the authors. It was actually kind of bittersweet because yes, this is what Manet could have said, but who knows, right? So I guess I felt a little cheated that way. So Madame de Gogh by Arthur Japin. I don't actually know how to pronounce this last name because it's a Dutch last name. Not fluent in Dutch yet. This book though, it's available only in Italian, in Dutch, and in Czech according to Goodreads. But it tells a beautiful romantic story of Edgar Degas, who was in love with his brother's wife. Fortunately, they lived in South America, so they didn't see each other that much. And since, you can find it in English, I'm not going to dwell on talking much about this book, but it's a really good one in case you find it. And talking about Degas, I just got gifted by a friend of mine this very old printed book and a collection of letters that he wrote to different people, friends, artists, but it's also filled with his beautiful paintings. And you can see the book, it's really, really old. It's dated 1948. So it's a good, sort of antique find. And speaking about letters, I'm going to show you some books that I bought in Amsterdam at the Van Gogh Museum, the bookstore there. Oh God, it's beautiful. So many great finds, and actually I just got crazy. That was last year. I bought like books for 100 euros. I just got crazy. I got this collection of Paul Cézanne letters. Paul Cézanne is another artist I really love. And here too, letters that he wrote to friends, also including famous French authors, book writers. I think there's Zola and some others. I haven't read it yet. And it's complete with beautiful paintings as well. So where are the paintings? And I think you can see his writing too, maybe some notes. very pretty. You know, sometimes you go abroad and you see books and then you say, I'll never find, you know, this version in Italy or wherever you live, right? Translated in other countries. And so that's why I decided to buy these books. This is also a collection of short novels and stories of art and artists. And these are the artists in this book: Marguerite Yourcenar, Edgar Allan Poe, Guy de Maupassant, Penelope Fitzgerald, Henry James, Julian Barnes, William Boyd, John Berger, Doris Lessing, Bernard Malamud, Albert Camus, Hermann Hesse, Nathaniel Hawthorne, Frank Kafka, Honoré de Balzac, Rebecca Lee, Orhan Pamuk, and others. So short stories that should include, you know, a touch of art, which I adore. So this is something I have not started yet. I should just read one short story once in a while, but so far I haven't. And now we move on to one of my favorite artists, where we'll spend some time talking about Van Gogh. At the museum, I bought his letters. Oh gosh, look at this. We have a lot of drawings and little signs. Some of his paintings are here in the book. And the letters that, you know, he wrote to Theo, his brother. And I mean, he loved writing, and he's so deep in whatever he says. I'm getting really acquainted with his personality after reading some of the books. I have to mention this book by an Italian author, Marco Goldine, which is the most famous expert in Impressionism and Van Gogh in particular. He curates a lot of exhibits as well. And I colori delle stelle, the stars' colors. This book tells the story of Van Gogh's friendship with Paul Gauguin, and it's heartbreaking. So I hope it gets translated for English reading audience. It's really a moving book. And speaking of Van Gogh, I recently read Mrs. Van Gogh by Caroline Cauchy, and it tells the story of Joanna's, which was Theo, Vincent's brother, wife. And mostly it's focused actually on her love affair with Theo and her difficult relationship with Vincent when they first met. But she was actually quite important for the success that Van Gogh has nowadays and started to build up after his death. Because, you know, in his life, he never sold a painting, the poor guy. Although he had this strong belief that one day his art would be appreciated. So it was really good to see that even you can read it in his letters, that he knew that somehow one day people will understand him. Back to Joanna, when both Vincent and Theo died, because his brother died probably around 6 months after Vincent died, she really made it a life mission to give Vincent his recognition, and in this way also to her husband Theo. And she really pushed to start having exhibits, and little by little she really built it. In fact, there was one other woman that understood Van Gogh's heart and really liked it so much, and her name was Helene Kröller-Müller, which she also founded a museum that you can go and visit. It's outside Amsterdam. And here I think this museum focuses when he was painting at the beginning in Holland. And so all those paintings are not like so super bright and colorful like he did when he was in France, but her collection is pretty good. I haven't had a chance to visit that museum, but I know that I think some of these paintings are now exhibiting in a town nearby mine in Trieste, so hopefully in the next few weeks I'll go and see them. Speaking about Joanna again, after I read Mrs. Van Gogh, I was a bit disappointed because I was hoping the book was more about her effort in making Van Gogh's name recognized. It was more about her love story with Theo and how they got together, and so yeah, I wasn't that interested in that. I would have rather explore more her difficulties in getting the exhibits running and so. Somebody recommended me to read The Widow of Van Gogh by Camilo Sanchez. Again, this book is not available in English, but it's available in Italian, in French, in Spanish, and German, according to Goodreads. So this definitely is going to be one of my next reads, maybe not so soon, but I'm interested because this woman, when Vincent was alive, had a very difficult time with him. But after his death, I really want to make it up to him somehow. So I really admire what she did. And another book that's kind of famous that's been recommended to me, it's Girl with a Pearl Earring by Tracy Chevalier. I actually watched the movie, and so I don't know how you feel about watching a movie and reading the book afterwards. I'm more about reading the book before and then watching the movie. So when I already watched the movie, I feel sort of like, oh, I don't know if I want to read the book now, but I'm interested. What do you think? And of course, I would be happy to hear any other recommendations you have for books and art. So let me know in the comment area if you want to chat. I look forward to connect with you. Thank you so much for watching this video and keeping me company. Consider subscribing for more videos. I look forward to see you soon here on Uncommon Reader. Goodbye for now and happy reading.